All right. Hi, Coach. Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
great. We will go ahead and jump in if you're ready, starting with Tony Jones, The Athletic.
Hey, Coach, sorry if I'm boring you.
You never bore me, Tony.
I was just preemptively apologizing.
Okay. What do you got? Now I'm wondering. Got me curious.
With you guys, what's the proving ground for you guys? Just, knowing that you guys have waited, basically all year for this, and this is what you guys have been shooting for, just heading into the playoffs.
Well, I think really it's not that different from any other team. As far as, I think we recognize, like, everyone else does, that, the NBA playoffs are a unique event. And obviously, for the simple reason that that's where, the championship is won. That said, you don't ignore the regular season. I don't think it was a goal at the beginning of the year to win the regular season. The goal was to play as well as we can, get better, and in doing so, prepare ourselves to play well and hopefully win in the playoffs. So that, in a nutshell, I think that's how we've approached it. That also, recognizes the fact that, it's true, at this point, your record's 0-0, and as is everyone's. And I think particularly when you look at this year, I think seeding is basically irrelevant. The teams that play well and win games are going to have an opportunity to advance. And I don't think it matters, who you're playing. I think obviously matchups are always, something that people look at. But that takes place during the course of a game. That takes place game to game. So those things are always part of your preparation process. But, obviously it's something that you look at because you're waiting to see who you play. But again, as far as I'm concerned, we closed the book on the regular season. It's that simple. Something you look back on and feel like you had a really good year, but, kind of embrace whatever comes as far as expectations, whether they're high, low, in the middle. Those things always change throughout the course of the playoffs anyway, depending on how you're playing.
Kristen Kenny, Jazz TV.
Coach, we just talked to Donovan about this whole year and looking back to the playoffs last year and the level of focus from the guys and determination coming in this time around. What have you seen as far as that, the focus, the determination, the extra reps that your guys have put in to get to where you are now?
Well, the season's so different, Kristen. I think we were focused and determined last year. I think we went from a situation where I think 15 of 17 people in one, poll, for lack of a better word, picked us to lose to Denver. And then we're up 3-1, and probably those same 15 people, thought we might close the series. We didn't. I mean, so that to me is the biggest thing when you look back. It's not just applicable in a series. It's not just applicable in a game. It's applicable throughout the course of any given game. And that consistency, I think, is the important part. You've got to play well for as many minutes as you can. And, those stretches, if you don't play well, you've got to make up for them. So as far as, any determination, I think there's a determination to win from every team. How that translates to us. And, I'd like for us to be determined to execute, every possession, and, being able to have that mindset, particularly when teams are so well prepared against you and trying to take things away. You've got to, it's a test of your will, to play through contact. If the game's, not being called as closely as it might be in a January game, to adjust to everything. And that's the challenge. And, I'd like to think that having some level of experience dealing with that is always beneficial. You have teams that have had, that advance deep into the playoffs that have more of that. But, I don't necessarily think that precludes a team like ours that, lost last year from not doing that this year.
Sarah Todd, Deseret News.
Quinn, what is it like for you and your staff for these play-in games as far as work goes? I mean, are you watching these, together in the office, and are you going to be there tomorrow ready to do something as soon as the game ends, or is this something that you're doing at home and you'll deal with it afterwards?
You want to know the course of my day? I'm sorry.
Tell me a play-by-play on what you're going to be doing.
Yeah, right. No, I think that what you're getting at, I think is absolutely true, and it's really different. And whereas some teams, they've known who they're playing since, early in the week, their preparation is going to look very different from ours. So, not knowing who you're playing, you want to work. You're ready to go, but at the same time, being really smart about what it is that you're doing. I think for us as coaches to have, contingencies, on in this case, who whether it's Golden State or Memphis, we have to know that. But early in the week, if you go through the probability of us, playing certain teams, you're really not spending your time very, very wisely if you're going too deep into those things. So we've tried to set it up in a way where we've not only focused on, our potential opponent and, gotten to a pivotal point where we feel like we can move quickly when we find out who that is. I think, the fact that there's two teams now reduces it where you can do more on each team and splitting some of that work up. But, two teams that are different. And I think that some of the focus, at least for us, early in the week, has been on us. And that also requires, planning, decision making. So you kind of go broad and then you eventually narrow it in, because even rest has been a priority for us, because that's something that, that I think having some injuries late in the year, we had some guys that were playing a lot more minutes, and then continuity is also, something for us to think about, because we have had a couple guys out and they're working their way back in. So there's a lot of variables that, you're considering when you're planning, how to prepare your team. And then as the week progresses, I think we get deeper and deeper into the preparation for who we're going to play. And, and again, could not be more different from, a team that knows who they're playing for the course of the week. Their preparation is going to look very different. For us, we don't find out till Friday night. And, that gives us a quick turn.
Eric Walden, Salt Lake Tribune.
Quinn, I just wanted to ask you about what you saw out of Donovan today. I mean, he told us that, he definitely looked and felt like it was his first time going through a full practice in 4 or 5 weeks or whatever it was. And said he felt good, but he was waiting to see how he feels after today and kind of making a determination on his game one readiness and how many minutes he'll be playing. Just kind of give us your thoughts on what you saw from him finally getting back to a full practice.
Well, the biggest thing is, he's out there, and there's always going to be some cobwebs, but him being in a good place mentally. And I think, as you said, as he said, this is something that, you take day by day. But I think his expectation, I should say his desire, obviously, is to be out there. And then, as he said, see how he feels, later today, tomorrow morning, see how everything, how his body responds, how his ankle responds. But, he looked good. He looked fatigued at various times. I think that was something that he was aware of. But you adjust to that, get yourself out for a couple of possessions, get back in. And, I think the thing that the overriding thing for Don is that, he's listening to his body, and, that'll determine where he is. Obviously he wants to be effective, and, he can be, but he's also, got to be able to function out there in a way that, where he feels he can be impactful. And that's the goal.
Ben Anderson, KSL Sports, is next.
Quinn, whoever you guys play on Friday will have, or Saturday, I'm sorry, will have Sunday, excuse me, will have already played 2 high leverage games this week, and you guys have kind of had a week off. Have you thought about, is that an advantage for them? You guys have a great rest advantage, but how do you balance that?
Well, I think, you could you could create a narrative on either side, and you hit on kind of the biggest things. It's any sport, at the end of the year, when you rest guys, you're looking at the impact it has on your health, physicality, being injury free, versus continuity, guys being, their timing. So all those things, need to get addressed. In our case, it's more impactful, I think, because, a couple of our key guys, are making their way back. So again, that focus on first their health and how they're doing and how does practice impact that. And I think that's true of our whole group in a different way. Joe's minutes went way up, Jordan's minutes went way up. So, everybody's got individually a way to prepare. And for us as coaches, it's a balancing act. You want to have a little bit of both. As you said, there's some teams that, have played a couple games and are getting deep into that competition. That could be helpful. Us having guys back, being healthy and rested, can also be helpful. So, it just depends. It's one of those things you look back and, in hindsight and say, maybe we should have rested more, we should have played more. But in this case, a lot of it's taken care of for you, because we can't play until Sunday, as you said.
Okay, that's all the time we have. Thanks so much, Coach, for joining.
Okay, thanks.